Hey everyone, it's Deja from CrochetEverAfter.com. Today is the newest Learn a Stitch washcloth, and this one I'm calling the Dipped Double Crochet. And it's basically a double crochet stitch, but all we're doing is we're changing from working into our top two loops. We're actually going to work between the space that each double crochet is making. So that's why I'm calling it dipped, because it's kind of dipped down. So it creates kind of this cool little spike effect. So that's why I wanted to use this self-striping yarn so that you could see that spike effect a little bit better. So you can download the pattern right below and it'll tell you what yarn this is if you like it, and grab a 5mm US H hook and we'll get started. Okay, so to begin our washcloth, we're gonna do a slip knot as usual. And I'm gonna chain 24. So as always, yarn, I can't get my tail. Grab your tail, yarn over back to front, turn your hook down and pull through the loop on your hook. The first one's always the most difficult. And you'll slide through nice and easy, and then push your hook so your loop rests on your shaft to get nice even chains. If you want to make this stitch pattern wider or narrower, you are going to chain any amount you want to chain. This does not matter. It's an easy pattern. Just add 2 chains for the height of the first row. So if you want a super specific width and you know your gauge and you know how many chains you need to make, just add 2 to that so that you can make sure your first row is the correct height. Otherwise, just chain whatever you want, and then those 2 chains can be a part of that chain, so you don't have to make it super specific. Whoops. So I'm going to get to 24 and then we'll start row 1. Okay, I finished my 24 chains and now we're ready for row 1, and basically we're just going to double crochet across. So to do that, the first thing we need to do is yarn over, and we're going to skip our first 3 chains, and that's going to count as a double crochet, and it's going to count as the first one for row 1. So I yarn over and I'm going to insert my hook in the 4th chain. So if you're new, you can count just this loop that's bouncing over itself, or turn it sideways and look at the V's, and each V is a chain. So you have 1, 2, and 3, and then I'm going to insert my hook in the 4th. And I'm just going to catch this back loop because it's fast and easy, and we're going to put a border on this washcloth so we don't need a really nice edge at the bottom. You can check out my foundation tutorials to see more about different ways you can work into it if you want to. But for this, we're just going to catch the back loop. So we yarn over, pull up our loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, and then always push your loops to your shaft to get nice even stitches. Yarn over and pull through the second 2. So now we have 1 actual double crochet made and a chain 3 that counts as the other one. So again, we're going to just double crochet all the way across. So if you know how to foundation double crochet, you can do that instead. So you can do 22 of those, because that's how much we'll end up at the end of this row. So I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over. I always turn my hook down to get through my loops nice and easy. And you'll notice when I do this normal speed, you'll see that I always push everything to my shaft as I work. And that gets me nice even stitches, so the end of my row is going to be like a little rectangle because everything's lining up correctly. So we're going to double crochet all the way across, and then we'll turn and do the pattern repeat. Okay, here's my last double crochet. So now we're going to turn our work, and this is where the stitch pattern is going to happen. So instead of doing just regular double crochets, we're going to do some fancy looking double crochets. So what we're going to do is we're going to chain 2. So normally you would chain 3 for a regular double crochet, but because the way we're going to make this next double crochet, we only need a height of 2 chains. So we're going to chain 2, and then we're going to yarn over, and instead of working into our V's, or the tops of our stitches like you normally would for a double crochet, we're going to go all the way to this hole. So we're going to go around this whole whole mess of loops and go right through this easy hole down below. And then we're just going to yarn over, pull up our loop, and double crochet like normal. And that's what we're going to do all the way across. We're not working in any loops, so this makes it really easy. If you're new to crochet and you're still getting used to where to work your stitches, this is easy. You're going to go all the way through this nice big hole and not have to worry about any of that. So we're going to do a double crochet in every single one of these holes, and then we're just going to do a little bit different at the very end of the row, because we kind of have like 2 stitches over here with that chain 2 in the double crochet, so we don't want to start increasing our washcloth. So we're going to skip one of these holes right at the end. So I'll show you that when we get over to the end, but in the meantime just keep working in that nice hole that you have right there all the way across. Okay, I'm right near the end here. I'm going to stop so you can see what we're doing. So I have one more horizontal. So if you're crocheting, you're reading a pattern, it says crochet below the horizontal threads or horizontal loops. That's all that stuff. So if it says crochet below it, it's talking about crocheting in the big space here, which you can do with single crochet, double crochet, treble crochet. You can substitute this for just about anything where you can get in between the or underneath all of your loops that are above. So on this very last portion, because we're going to be using this chain on the next row, we're counting it as a stitch even though there's only 2. So we technically kind of have 2 stitches here because we have one in that middle horizontal space below. So we don't want to put one in this last stitch, because if I do that and I keep doing it every row, my washcloth is going to start going like that and make a big kind of weird triangle with a blunt edge. So we need to skip that space and double crochet into our turning chain, so this chain 3. So when we work our rows, we do our chain and then we work into the first space and we skip the last space right before this one. This one's a little bit tighter, so it's a little easier to remember to skip it, but we don't work into that very last one. We work into the chains instead, and that'll keep us rectangular or square by the end. We're a little rectangle right now, so it's kind of cool because it looks like it's kind of linked up here with these big V's down the center. So again, same exact stuff. We're going to chain 2, double crochet in that first hole. And this is basically our stitch pattern. I like picking these nice, easy watch TV stitch patterns for you guys to learn, because they make really neat textures but are really simple to get down and do. So we're going to keep going across doing this. I'll come back at the end of the row again. The ball's rolling around. So I can show you the end again just to remind you to skip that last hole. Then we'll work on the washcloth on our own. Okay, I'm down to the last 2 holes here, but remember we're only working into one of them. This is a color changing yarn, so I did not join in a new color. This is a self-striping peaches and cream yarn that I'm also going to do a review on, but it's got some cool color changing. So now we have that last hole that we're not going to work into and our chain 2. So we're going to do a double crochet right at the top of the chain 2. So we have 1 chain here and 1 there. So we're going to go right in there, yarn over, pull up your loop, pull through the first 2 and the second 2. Then we turn and do the exact same stuff. So just keep on with the chain 2s at the beginning of the row. Make sure you work into that first space and not the last space. And you'll see, let me show you real quick after this one. You can see we've got a nice, oops, I'm about to pull it out. We have a nice rectangle going on because we don't work into that last space. If we worked into it, we would have our washcloth growing, which if you wanted a triangular washcloth would not be a bad thing, but since we want square, we don't want to do that. So keep on going. We'll come back later and work on our border. So just follow the pattern, or do as many rows as you want, or if you're making a scarf or anything else. You'll be doing a lot more rows than me. But we'll be back in a little bit. Okay, I've finished the washcloth, and you can see, I'm going to show you how to count these rows real quick. They're very easy to count because they have these really deep V's from working into between the spaces instead of the loops. So it's a lot easier to count these than some stitches. So we have that very first row of double crochet, and then we start doing the dipped double crochet. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. So I did 13 rows to get to my square. If you're not going off of the gauge that I put, the easy way to make the square is, of course, fold it in half into a triangle. So fold it on the diagonal, and once you line up your complete triangle, you should have almost a perfect square. So now we're ready for our edging. For the edging for this one, I'm going to do a shallow single crochet, so just a single crochet around 1 or 2 loops of each stitch here. The reason why is because I want to try to get the whole outline in white, since you can see that I have about 3 rows of white here and I've only used 1 of my color change, so I should hopefully be able to get the whole outside in white. You can, because this is a color changing yarn, you could also do it in red or blue or whatever you want. Just pull the yarn out until you get to the color that you want to do and start crocheting. If you run out, you can always pull it out again to the next color change and then join it in. So if you want it all red but it started to change to white, like down here, pull your ball out until you get to the next group of red and then join it back in so you can have a whole round of red. But I think we'll be fine since this is single crochet and we have quite a few stitches in double crochet, so we should be good. So what we're going to do is we turn our work after row 13, we chain 1, and then we're just going to single crochet in all of the stitches across, just like as if we were doing a row of single crochet, so very easy. When we get to the end of the row, I'll show you how to do the corner and make the turn so that you can work down the side. But for this, we're just inserting our hook under both loops, pulling up a loop, yarning over, and pulling through both, all the way across. I'm at the last stitch, the second to last stitch, we have 1, and then we have the chaining turn 3. So I'm going to do a single crochet in this stitch, and then I'm going to use the top of my chain 3 to make my turn and my corner. So I'm going to do 3 single crochets in the top of this chain 3. So I'm going to do 1, and then I'm going to go right back in. So it's going to be like the point of my corner, and then 1 more to make the turn complete. So now I can work down the side of the washcloth. Now because we don't have actual loops like we have for the top and technically the bottom, we have some loops that are easy to see. We have to kind of space these out as best we can. So since we're doing a shallow single crochet, I'm just going to go under 1 loop. So I'm going to find a loop that looks about far enough over for a single crochet. So you can see it's nice and easy to spot. And I'm going to do a single crochet there. Then I'm going to space it out again, so maybe this one here looks good. And you have to stop every once in a while and look at what you're doing. So as I'm making these, so I'm going to go to this one here. I need to stop and check if my line of the side is starting to do anything funny. So if it starts fanning out and it starts going like this, I have too many single crochets along the edge. It's pushing my washcloth apart, so it's giving it a fan. If it starts folding in on itself, I don't have enough single crochets next to each other, so I need to put some more in there. So depending on how you're spacing them out, you might have to pull it out and add some more or remove some. So take your time on the sides, but we're gonna get to the end of this side and then we'll do the corner again and keep working. Okay, looks like I'm at some turning chains here at the very end of the row. You can see that my side is nice and flat. I'm not pulling in or fanning out. So I'm gonna do 3 single crochets in that last chain there, again to make the turn. And now we have our foundation row, so it's not as difficult to see the loops. You can see them coming over the top here. They even look kind of like a V, so you can go under both if you want. Sometimes though, what it'll do if you go under both is it'll make a little bit of a hole. So if you don't like the hole effect, then just go under one loop, just pull up that loop that's on top. Otherwise you can try the double loop and see how you like how it looks. I'll do that so you can see what it looks like at the end. I did both loops and you can see the hole's not that large on this one, so it looks good. It doesn't stick out or anything. So I'm at the last stitch of this corner, and same thing, we're going to do 3 and then finish off this row, and then I'm going to go ahead and weave in. This tail here, I'm just going to leave it out until I'm ready to weave in the ends for the washcloth. So you can crochet it into your edge if you want, but I kind of like to do back and forth to make sure it's going to stick. So I'm going to finish this side and weave in these ends, and then we'll look at the finished project. I almost forgot the last corner just to show you, because we started with that single crochet in the first stitch. We just want to add 2 more in there so that we have a final corner, because if I don't add that in, then we're going to have kind of a cut off corner that's not matching everything else. So once I put those 2 single crochets in there, then I'm just going to join with a slip stitch in that first single crochet that I did. So push your hook through both loops, yarn over, pull through, and pull through what's on your hook, and then just fasten off. And you'll see I'm like right next to my blue, so I had just enough white to finish this off. So I'm going to cut this at my blue so I don't weave any of that in. And now I just need to weave in the 2 ends here and I'll be done. Okay, the washcloth is all complete and woven in. Very easy project, easy stitch, very simple to substitute for any project that uses just basic double crochet. So if you have a scarf pattern that you want to do that's all double crochet, you can just substitute this dip double crochet if you'd like. But if you have any questions, leave them below, and thank you for watching.